Welcome to the show. My name is Charlton with Big C. This is Charlton and Big C Sports coming to you worldwide on the iHeartRadio network every Monday through Friday at 5 o'clock p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And Charlton and Big C Sports are called the hottest show in the universe. We are ranked number one in the universe when it comes to sports talk, according to Big C and his good old boys down south. And also, we are broadcasting live with iHeartMedia. We are the number one media company in the United States. So I want to thank all of you good old boys for listening to Charlton and Big C Sports. We appreciate you very much. You know, tonight we're starting off with the Big C World Series. Big C, you brought it up first with the Cleveland Indians and the Chicago Cubs in the Big C World Series. The C stands for Cleveland, and also C stands for Chicago for you good old boys down south, just so they're not too confused, Big C. I also want to say that today is a beautiful October the 25th, 2016, and also bienvenidos to all of our Latin American listeners. So thank you very much for following Charlton and Big C, and also to you good old boys over in London, England, as well as Paris, France, and the great country of Canada, our home and native land. Did I right? I studied two more verses, Big C. You're going to get deadly good I understand, Big C, but I'm trying, Big C. And also the great United States of America, the land of the free, and the home of the brave. Big C, how's it going for you good old boys down south, Big C?
Charlton, it's fantastic down there. Waiting on the Big C World Series to start tonight.
Yeah.
After 8 o'clock Eastern time.
Yeah.
You know, just a marvelous backdrop for the opening of a World Series, Charlton. You know, you think about, you got the Cleveland Cavaliers sitting next door about 50 yards away, receiving their championship rings from last NBA season, and the Cleveland Indians opening up the first game of the World Series. What a great time to be a Midwesterner when you're looking at sports. Great cities of Chicago and Cleveland.
Oh, yeah.
You know, these are two cities, Charlton, that have gone through so much social unrest and financial turmoil over the years with the loss of, you know, corporate and industrial jobs. Charlton. But you got to feel for these fans. And I think the futility comes from the years of not winning, Charlton, that have brought all these fans together to make them much more appreciative. And when you think about, they stood by their teams when they weren't winning.
Oh, yeah.
And now that they're on the precipice of winning the World Series, it's the greatest time in the world to be a Cub and an Indian fan, Charlton.
Well, Big C, I know that around the world of sports, and I love what we do on Charlton and Big C Sports. We always tell people that sports is a galvanizing force. It can galvanize and bring people together, Big C, and we know that it's a billion-dollar industry. And what I love so much about our program is we call it Real Talk. And you know, I'm also wanting to acknowledge someone when they're prescient enough to have knowledge of things before they happen. And you've been doing that for over 40 years, Big C, but most especially last night. And we're going to touch on some baseball tonight as well as the NBA. But we got to talk about a little bit of football. We talked about the Brock Osweiler deal that he went down to Houston. And the good old boys signed on, Big C, without even meeting to him, according to John Gruden and some of the good old boys. And they gave him $72 million for being benched. Okay, he was benched in Denver. So Elway knows a little bit about what he's doing, Big C. So here's a guy that was benched in Denver. They made him the next great John Elway, the next great Joe Montana, the next great Warren Moon. And they were saying that this guy's ready to take over a franchise. Well, I think he had about 128 yards passing. He had the most pass attempts and the fewest completions, second in the history of NFL football. But do you think he's going to get back his $72 million at all, Big C? Or is he going to keep that money, Big C?
Well, no, Charlie, he's not going to give it back to back. But, you know, as we know in professional football, it's the only sport that doesn't guarantee a contract. They will get rid of you in a heartbeat. And we've seen that over the years. You think players are going to be able to franchise, next thing you know, they're released based on salary cap implications. But when you look at the case of Brock Osweiler here, Charlie, there was much ballyhoo between the national sports shows talking about Brock Osweiler going to Houston and delivering a championship type of caliber quarterback to them because of what he had done in Denver. Many people don't realize he was only 5-3 as a starter in Denver. That's not a great record overall. If you go into the down season, it's only 10-6. It might make the playoffs.
But it got him $72 million, see. It got him $72 million, Big C. Must be pretty decent to somebody.
He got $72 million out of it, Charlton. And when you look at him right now, he has the lowest QBR rating in the NFL. Lower than Blaine Gabbert, lower than Colin Kaepernick, lower than Ryan Tannehill, Charlton. So when you think about the lack of productivity of this kid Osweiler.
Yeah.
You know, I know right now O'Brien, the head coach in Houston, is scratching his head saying, what did we do? You know, I can't bench the guy because we put the franchise on his back.
Yeah.
And hopefully he'll work out. They want to call it a slump, Charlton. He's right now at the precipice of his career.
They call it a slump?
As good as he's been.
Yeah.
As good as he's been, you know, John Elway, you know, has to be intelligent. You know, when you think about it, you think about all the free agents that he's signed since going to Denver as their GM.
Yeah.
And all the draft picks that have been successful. You know, going in there, winning a Super Bowl, Charlton, appearing in 2 Super Bowls.
Yeah.
So he knows what he's doing, and he knows what the quarterback scenario is, playing, you know, in a couple Super Bowls and winning them himself. So when he let Osweiler go, Elway knew something. Everybody said, you know, how could he do this? But he knew something about Osweiler, that he just wasn't the guy that could lead a team. And you think about it last night, Charlton.
Yeah.
He completed one pass over 10 yards.
Yeah.
10 yards. You think about it, this is a professional quarterback that stands 6'7".
Yeah.
He should never get a pass batted down. He had 7 passes batted down or tipped last night.
Yeah.
At the line of scrimmage, at or around the line of scrimmage. He's 6'7", Charlton. He's taller than the defensive lineman, but he's getting passes knocked down. And he was running, you know, he's not an elusive quarterback, but he was skittish in the pocket.
Yeah.
So, you know, Houston really has to reevaluate themselves right now with Brock Osweiler. Do they plan on going anywhere with him? Because at the level that he's playing right now, have the lowest QBR rating of all the starting quarterbacks in the NFL, all of them.
Yeah.
There's 31 quarterbacks ranked ahead of Brock Osweiler right now, Charles.
Yeah.
So if you're a team and you're looking for offense, it's not Brock Osweiler right now.
Well, speaking of looking for offense, this segment is sponsored by your Northern California Cadillac dealer, home of the all-new Cadillac Escalade, your standard of the world. And when you go by and test drive it, tell them that Charlton and Big C sent you. You know, Big C, we know that yours likes mud on it. I was out and going through a car wash today in Northern California, Big C. I'm noticing more and more, you're supposed to go to the car wash to get your car clean, but I notice a lot of Chevrolets now, people don't even wash them. It's like they go drive them in deep mud, Big C, like deep fried grease and catfish. It's like everybody's going through these mud patches now, going through the car washes, Big C. It made me think about Charlton and Big C Sports. Also, I saw a picture of the globe. You know, that's kind of our logo with the earth spinning around because we are the #1 show in the universe, Big C. But I want to ask you, what about the Cadillac Escalade that you like most, Big C? Has a lot of power, a lot of technology, and also a lot of features, Big C. But what do you love most about it, Big C?
You know, I love Charlton, and me and my catch of the day is riding in luxury. You know, we're talking.
Yeah.
I can put that climate control in the back while I don't have to worry about them spoiling before we get home.
Yeah.
They'll be good enough to take care of it. But that's what I like about it. You know, we fly, we got the surround sound stereo system there, Charlton. We got the DVD player. It's just a wonderful luxury vehicle.
Yeah.
But my catch of the day is really enjoying the ride back to my place to get into something hot.
Yeah, that's so funny. You know, I love people who have compassion for things, but I've never met anyone like you good boys that have compassion for your caught alligators and also your caught catfish, Big C. You at least give them a ride back in style and air-conditioned luxury, Big C. I think that's so funny. And also, thinking of something that's great, you know, we love what's happening in the world of baseball right now. With the World Series happening, the Big C World Series, and that's because of Chicago and Cleveland, you know, they're all named C. And then, Big C, as far as cities are concerned, there's so much talk about these two great organizations and who's pulling for the Cubs and who's pulling for the Indians. I'm just pulling for the best team to play the best 4 of 7 games, Big C. But are you partial to any one of these teams, and if so, why, Big C?
I tell you, Charlton, I'm partial to great athletes, you know, and after playing the game and being involved in it for many years, you appreciate great performances. I mean, there's fans, those are in cities, okay? I'm appreciative of talent.
Yeah.
I'm appreciative of great performances, and that's what we're going to see during this series. I expect it to go at least 7 games, Charlton. You know, I don't see anybody knocking this off in 5. But what I'm going to see and what you're going to see is some great and challenging pitching, Charlton. You're going to see some managerial moves that will stifle you throughout this series. And so why did he make that move? And you will see the end results of it in the play of the game.
Yeah.
But this is one of those games, this is one of those series for the fans. Those fans that have waited for decades to have this day occur. You know, the oldest Cubs fan that's going to be at the game was at the last time that the Cubs was in the World Series. Charlton, he's 97 years old.
Wow.
You think about that. You're 97 years old and you're attending your second World Series of your home team, Charlton.
Yeah.
That's an amazing thing. And the Cubs provided with 2 tickets for the first game there at Wrigley Field. But this is one of those games of appreciation. This is one of those series of appreciation when you sit back there and you watch. You know, you got Snedeker going to be put in the lineup tonight for the Cubs. This guy has not played all year long. He had knee surgery, Charlton. And so this is the first time he's going to see a pitch in a live game, a live Major League game this year. He's going to be DHing for the Cubs.
Yeah.
But, you know, you think about the moves, and that's one of the moves that the managers make.
Yeah.
They make moves that they feel is the best for the organization. And these players are out there to give the optimum performance for the fans, Charlton.
And when you think about the Cubs and their pitching, their rotation, they have left-hander John Lester, who's 19-5 on the season with a 2.44 ERA. He has 197 strikeouts. Right-hander Jake Arrieta, who's an amazing pitcher, 18-8 for the season. Big C, he has a 3.10 ERA. And right-hander Kyle Hendricks is 16-8 for the season. He has a major league best 2.13 ERA. He should be very clutch in this game. Also, like you mentioned, right-hander John Lackey, 11-8 for the season, 3.35 ERA. When you go across the lineup in the other team, the projected rotation for the Indians, right-handed Corey Kubler, he's 18-9 with a 3.14 ERA, 227 strikeouts, Big C, in 215 innings. Right-hander Josh Tomlin, 13-9, he's 4.40 ERA, 36 home runs given up on him in 174 innings. Now, right-hander Trevor Bauer, he's 12-8, but his ERA is 4.26, so they really start to slide when you go down the lineup, and he has a career high 190 innings pitched this year. They finish off with left-hander Ryan Merritt. He's only 1-0 in the season. He has a 1.64 ERA in 11 innings. And when it comes to the players, there's always something great to talk about when you talk about different players. But I just want to think about these two great cities kind of in the Rust Belt, especially for the city of Cleveland. They've had so many things happen with the economy being down and how it meant so much for LeBron James to go back to Cleveland and they won a championship. If you've been to the city of Cleveland, Big C, your thoughts on just what it means to the city of Cleveland? They're only about 300 miles away from the great city of Chicago, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, you know, it's a marvelous city, Charlton. It's a blue-collar city for years. You know, that's what the backdrop of this place.
Yeah.
These arenas have been, you know, for years. They had the stadium that was sitting there on the lake where the Browns stadium is now. But, you know, this is the team, like I said, they've been a tough luck city. They've come close to championships for years, for decades, and never got there. They've had fumbles, they've had interceptions, they've had drives. They've been beaten in the World Series by the Braves. But, you know, they stayed in, Charlton. They backed their team. You know, when you think about that, you know, when you have something in common in a city that has been hit with the industrial decline like you have in the Midwest and the Rust Belt, as you talked about, but the sport has galvanized these communities, states, and cities to keep these fans with hope.
Yeah.
If nothing else, they hope for the championship coming from their team. And that's what's come this year to the Midwest, Charlton. When you think about having a Midwest World Series, a Big C World Series, it's great for this part of the country.
Yeah, well, Big C, I just think that's funny. When you talk about the Big C World Series and how other networks will probably pick up on that before the end of the series is over, Big C, it reminds me of this movie that Vin Rames played in with the great Bruce Willis, the great Vin Rames, the great John Travolta, and it's produced by Quentin Tarantino. It's called Pulp Fiction, Big C. And there's a scene where Vin Rames was kind of like this tough guy, and then Bruce Willis, he was getting ready to go into a boxing match, but Vin told Bruce Willis that you go down in the 4th round, Big C. And he said, that stinging sensation you're going to be feeling, well, that's pride. And he said, forget about pride. But he used more like Donald Trump words, Big C, when he said, forget about pride. And I think it's the same thing with all of the things going on in the world of sports and even in the world of media. I still want to go back. I want to backtrack just a little bit because we talked about this situation with the kicker for the New York Giants, how he beat up his wife over 20 times, Big C, and it was the 20th time that the owner, Mr. Mara, trying to kind of cover up what he already knew, and he didn't really know much about it based on his own words. But it was 2014 that he got a letter from his own player, Big C. And now you have Brock Osweiler last night, and the NFL played up on him, but he also pushed a woman twice down in Texas in the summertime with impunity. There was no punishment, as the NFL saying they're tough on crime. I just think they have to drop their pride, Big C, just like Ben Reams told Bruce Willis in that movie, Big C. I think that some people want to let it go because now they want to get into baseball, Big C. But again, what can the NFL or even Major League Baseball or the NBA, we talked about Rose and his situation in court, what can they do to bring attention to no violence against women, Big C? Go right ahead, sir.
Well, I think right now, Charlton, when you look at the NFL, some heads are going to have to roll. Josh Brown was released today by the New York Giants.
Oh, they let him go.
That was a subtle move on their behalf, letting him go when they should have never re-signed him, Charlton, knowing his history of domestic violence. But, Mara stood up and said there was no place in the game for those type of people. He said that 2 years against Ray Rice, but yet he knew his own player was doing that. But, Charlton, this goes further than just Josh Brown. Josh Brown is just the tip of the iceberg.
Yeah.
You got to look at the Giants organization, and you got to look at the NFL's office. The NFL office knows, and this bylaw is in place. Domestic violence, automatic 6-game suspension. They didn't do that to Josh Brown. He lived down the street from Roger Goodell, okay?
Yeah.
So they're in the same neighborhood. They work in the same area. And he did not suspend this player. So you're going to have to look at the NFL office, Charlton. I think this could be several people suspended, if not fired, from their lack of follow-up on this scenario, Charlton, to allow this to escalate. And we've talked about it for over a month.
Yeah.
All the national media got on it last week like it was a breaking story.
Yeah.
But, you got to look at the guys at ESPN. What's the little guy that...
Is it Schefter? Oh, the guy that always he has all the inside stories, Big C. It takes him 2 years to break a story.
Inside source.
Yeah.
Inside source. Adam Schefter, I believe.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, the guy with all the knowledge. Yeah.
Sitting around, he has all this knowledge. All these insiders, Charlton, just telling him everything. So who told him about this situation with Josh Brown last year?
I think you did, Big Z. I think you were talking about it for a year, Big Z.
So his source that he's listening to Big C Sports out of Chester on ESPN with his BlackBerry sitting there at the desk, gonna tell everybody now, this is the breaking news on Josh Brown.
Yeah.
Tell him, Adam, who your source is. You say Big C, I'm okay with that. Everybody else is
well, Big C, I will give them some credit. They said this was broken by CBS. I thought they were going to say Big C, but they said CBS is what told them who broke the story, Big C. But I think it's just... They were saying Big C broke it, but they were going to give they were going to say CBS broke it, Big C. And I think it's just... it's part of how we can be flippant with the sports programming because it's all fun for us, but also there's a way to keep everybody safe. And I just mean that to the nth degree because if we don't do it as broadcasters and we have the microphones and we have the TV, and they even have teleprompters on Fox and ESPN, so they can't get it wrong, basically. They got people, they write down what they tell these guys to say, and they still couldn't research what happened, Big C. But I didn't know he got released today, and I'm so glad that it happened. Ironically, Big C, it took them 2 years to do what it took them 1 day to do for Ray Rice, Big C. I think that's a step in the right direction, but there is a movie, a documentary called 13th. I think everybody needs to see it because it talks about race and injustice in the criminal justice system. It also has a lot of information in there on how to keep women safe. And if you have an interest in that, and we're not like Donald Trump, where you grab someone by the crotch and all that jazz and kiss them in the mouth without their permission, and then you say, I didn't say that. Who are you going to believe, me or your lying ears, Big C? And that's what Donald Trump has done. And so a lot of good old boys, they say, well, yeah, he wouldn't lie, and he keeps saying that Hillary's a liar. But if anyone has a TV or a microphone or any type of radio, you can hear him with his own words saying that he grabs women by the private parts and kisses them. And when you're rich and powerful, they let you do it. Then the next day he'll say, I didn't say that. That wasn't me, Big C. So I just want people to keep aware of that. And also saying things that I want people to keep aware of. Charlton and Big C, this segment is sponsored by the California Lottery, Big C. And we've been talking about winning this lottery for a long time now, Big C. And you've been saying specifically what a buck can do for you, Big C. Well, I know it's about $160 million, Big C. The Powerball coming up. So I'm telling you, it's going to be won by Charlton and Big C. And in fact, I feel like I've already won it, Big C. So your thoughts on the California Lottery, Big C?
Well, Charlton, we got to get you that. You have a great future behind that.
Yeah.
All your words will be washed away and live like Donald Trump.
Yeah.
You
mean I get to grab people? Oh, well, that's not fun. If I can't grab people, what fun is that, Big Z?
We want to advise everybody everybody to play safely, play the lottery. Don't spend more than what you can afford. Don't go out thinking that you got to put it all, because there's only going to be one set of numbers that win. So play conservatively, be careful, but the California lottery has changed many lives over the decades, Charlton, and it's benefited children in education over that whole time.
Yeah, it definitely has. So everybody go out and take a buck, and what a buck can you do for you? It's actually a good cause. And before we get into some of the NBA tonight, we know we have the Major League Baseball starting off. Everybody's looking forward to that, Big C, on Big C, the Big C World Series. And yes, we said it here first. You'll probably hear it on network radio or network news coming up, Big C. Somehow they got to slip it in. And also, I just want to touch a little bit on the NFL before we get into the NBA, Big C. In the NFL, the American League East, the AFC East, we have New England at 6-1. Buffalo is 4-3. Miami's 3-4. The Jets are 2-5 right now in that conference. Big C, do you see Buffalo even having the chance to challenge the Patriots in the AFC East? New England has scored 176 points, only giving up 107. Buffalo scored 187, and they've given up 131. Your thoughts on the top two teams in that division, Big C?
Well, they would have to play the Patriots every week, because that seems to be the team that they get up for.
Yeah.
The Patriots and the other teams, they have a tendency not to play so well, when they're playing those teams.
Yeah.
But, Buffalo will be the second team in that division. The Patriots are just a dominant organization, Charlton. They do it all right. They play great defense. They have a very solid running game in LeGarrette Blount. You have the ultimate quarterback in Tom Brady.
Yeah.
And you really can't key on one individual when you think about that. That defense comes from all different directions with all types of hybrid blitzes that they have.
Yeah.
But the receiving corps, they're so interchangeable. You got these two big tight ends as well as these fast receivers, as well as the backs that come out of the backfield. Bill Belichick is just a marvelous tactician, Charlton, in the game of football.
Well, I'll tell you what, Big C, another division, we looked at it last night, and I don't know what some of these owners are doing, not even meeting with the guy before you give him $72 million, Big C. Hey, I've been playing for Houston for like $27 million, Big C. They didn't even call me either, Big C. So not much different than that interview process, Big C. But in the AFC South, you have the Houston Texans. They're 4-2, and Indianapolis 3-4. They also have the highest paid quarterback in the NFL. Is only 3 wins and 4 losses in 7 games, and that's less than 50%. But Andrew Luck, he's not giving back the money either, Big C. In fact, when you look at Andrew Luck and Brock Osweiler, they're over $200 million, Big C, and both of them are not looking very strong as what they call elite NFL quarterbacks. Your thoughts on Houston at 4-2, Indianapolis 3-4, Tennessee is also 3-4, and Jacksonville 2-4. Your thoughts about Houston and Indianapolis? Houston scored 108 points, giving up 127. Indianapolis, they scored 194, giving up 200, Big C. Your thoughts on those teams challenging for the AFC South?
Well, Charlton, it's always other teammates other than the quarterbacks, because you're paying these quarterbacks this copious amount of money.
Yeah.
And they're the greatest thing since sliced bread. But, when you look at the lack of productivity based on the dollar amount that quarterbacks are making nowadays, and the minimal money that some other positions are making, the key positions, offensive line, every team should be willing to invest in their offensive line, in their running game, Charlton. That is the cog that keeps the motor running, Charlton, in pro football.
Yeah.
You look at what Ajayi has done down in Miami.
Oh, he's amazing. Yeah.
They were a stymied team until they handed the ball off to Ajayi. They were sitting there waiting on Tannehill to break out. They said, just hand the ball off. This is the best thing you can do for the organization.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, you got a running back in back-to-back 200-yard rushing games and 2 consecutive victories. Miami hadn't had that in a long time. So when you talk about these quarterbacks in Houston and Indianapolis, Charlton, they lack running games in their offense because they put so much profile on these quarterbacks, wanting them to be highly productive.
Yeah.
But without that running game, Charlton, defenses are aware of what they're going to do on a consistent basis, and that's try to throw the ball. So you can prepare for that more than you can for the run game, Charlton. Well,
Big C, also when you look at the AFC West, I'm looking at the Oakland Raiders at 5-2, Kansas City's 5-2, actually 4-2, Denver is 4-2, and San Diego's 3-4. When you look at those two teams, and I look at what happens. And last night, Denver really played a great football game against Houston, especially defensively. They really lit it up. But I want to just show you that the Raiders right now are in first place. They've scored 185 points, but they've given up 179. Kansas City, they scored 136. They've given up 123. And then you look at Denver, they're 4-2. They scored 140, but they've only given up 108 points. But I'm telling you something that has to scare everybody. San Diego, even though they're in last place, they're 3-4 in the season. They have scored 100. If you think about what San Diego can do offensively, they scored 206 points. They've given up 185. This is a team that can outscore people. And going down the stretch, I would not be surprised if they got some way to get into the wild card game, Big C. Your thoughts on San Diego and the rest of the AFC West?
Well, Charlton, Phillip Rivers can get hot at any time. He's been a steady NFL quarterback his entire career. What has hurt San Diego more than anything else is the injuries that they've had this year offensively. You lost wide receivers, you lost running backs, you lost the linemen, you lost a couple of key defensive players.
Yeah.
But this is the team with Mike McCoy as head coach that has worked through this. There was a thought of him losing his job just a couple of weeks ago, but he's turned it around with a couple of great victories on the road and at home. And like you said, the AFC West is so tight, and all of those teams are going to play each other.
They will, yeah.
So when you can be 2 games behind, but you beat your opponent, and you're only 1 game behind, you beat another opponent, that opponent loses again, you're dead even. So this is a race that's too close to call right now. The AFC West, it's an open division for any team to take it. The Raiders are leading it right now, but they may not be leading it in 5 weeks, Charles.
Well, another strong division is the AFC North. Pittsburgh Steelers are 4-3. Baltimore, they're 3-4. Cincinnati is also 3-4 in the season, and then Cleveland is winless at 0-7. You look at the Steelers; they scored 170, giving up 150. In Baltimore, they've only scored 133 points, but their defense has only given up 139. Your thoughts about those teams? And I think Cincinnati would be right there also. They've scored 140, but they're giving up 162. A lot of times injuries come into play. Without Big Ben, that might cost the Steelers some games down the stretch that they should have won. Your thoughts on who might challenge for the AFC North, Big C?
Well, when you talk about it right out the back, Ben was out, and they had a close game against New England this last week. Not that they would have won with being in there, but the game, I think, might have been a little closer, a little more challenging because his veteran savvy in the backfield. You talk about injuries. Tyron Hill, the running back in Cincinnati, got injured, hurt his shoulder. So that's another injury that Cincinnati has to deal with. This is a team that is trying to find some spark, but this is also the time of the year that they've had injuries.
Yeah.
Cleveland, the most injury-prone team in the NFL, has started 7 different quarterbacks.
Yeah, it seems like it, yeah.
7 weeks and you're having a quarterback week. They can't find a guy right now. They're trying to bring people out. That's okay. I don't want to go quarterback.
I hear they're even trying out Jim Brown to see if he can throw the football, Big C.
You talk about an organization that's been there, and that's Cleveland. But, Pittsburgh is still in class in the division. Cincinnati's right there. You have to get over some injuries, and the NFL is just one of those leagues where you're going to beat people up, Charlton, every week. It's very physical, very violent, and we've always known the Central Division to be a very violent and tough division. And we've seen that with the injuries that Cleveland suffered with. Well,
Big C, that is very true. And this segment is also sponsored by United Labor Guaranteed $100,000 life insurance with no medical questions. That means if you've been turned down, you need to tweet out to Charlton and Big C Sports. We are also endorsed by the American Cancer Society and the American Heart Association. We work with all of the unions under the AFL-CIO, and we are also looking to employ over 1,000 licensed insurance brokers. Unlike Donald Trump, we're not trying to send 1,000 jobs overseas, Big C. We're trying to give Americans work. So tweet out to Charlton and Big C Sports on the iHeart Radio Network every Monday through Friday at 5 o'clock p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And we are rated the #1 show in the universe. That's right, the #1 sports show in the universe, according to Big C and the good old boys from down south. Before we get into the NFC and get your thoughts on the top teams in the NFC, Big C, I just want to say there's also the NHL happening tonight, and we have some good teams getting ready for NHL play. So keep in mind that's also going to be something that we cover throughout the season. We have Pittsburgh's at Florida, Boston's at Minnesota, New Jersey's at Arizona, Philadelphia will be at Buffalo, Detroit will be at Carolina, and Tampa will be at Toronto, as well as St. Louis at Calgary. Also, more games happening tonight in the NHL. Dallas will be at Winnipeg, Vancouver at Ottawa, San Jose at Anaheim, and Los Angeles at Columbus, Big C. So a lot of good things happening in the world of the NHL. But I want to get your thoughts also when we look at what's happening all throughout the world of sports. And you look at all the great things that we've had over the weekend in the NFC. I think the team right now, and I know it can change from week to week, Big C, but when you look at the NFC and you look at who has the best shot right now, if the playoffs started today, I look at the NFC East, the Dallas Cowboys, they are 5-1. They're followed by Philadelphia, which is 4-2. I think Washington will overall overtake Philadelphia. They're 4-3, and the Giants are 4-3, Big C. Now, Dallas, they've scored 159. They've only given up 107 points. And Philadelphia, they scored 156. They've only given up 88 points with their defense. But I want to get your thoughts on who you think right now will come out of the NFC East, excluding injury with Dallas, Philadelphia, and then Washington. I think the Giants are done this year, Big C, but your thoughts on the NFC East?
Well, I think all that is controlled by Jerry Jones, Charlton. What you think about it? Will he make the dumb move at quarterback and Dak Prescott and the Dallas Cowboys on a roll, or will he just let that roll continue?
Yeah.
As long as Tony Romo and Dez Bryant are out of the lineup in Dallas, Charlton, they got a very solid offense.
Yeah.
And the defense has played remarkably well this year. But you also you look around the division. Philadelphia's done better than what teams have expected. They really shocked the Minnesota Vikings this past weekend with a stellar defensive performance. Sam Bradford was a pedestrian quarterback when he had the pressure in his face all night long, like any NFL quarterback would be.
Yeah.
When you're comfortable in the pocket, you can make things look good. But when you're not comfortable in the pocket, you see the results of it, and then opposing defense was all over it.
Yeah.
But you look at the Washington Redskins. They seem to have gotten on track. Next thing you know, they suffer a loss to the Detroit Lions.
Yeah.
And you didn't hear Kirk Cousins running off the field and say, "What do you think of that now?"
Yeah. Yeah. Do you like that? Do you like that? Is what he was saying. You like that? Yeah, I understand.
Do you like that?
Yeah.
He didn't say that after Sunday's game. So, right now, Dallas is the class of the division. It's up to Jerry Jones. Do he want it to remain that way?
Well, you think about the days of Jerry Jones when he had the great Jimmy Johnson as coach. And, Jimmy Johnson is considered the alpha male. He's kind of outspoken. That's why Jerry Jones let him go. But he said he wanted guys that can play. He didn't care their size, their stature, none of that stuff, where they were drafted. He just wanted guys that could play, and they won some Super Bowls, 2 Super Bowls under Jimmy Johnson, and really a third one, that Barry Switzer one. You can credit that to Jimmy Johnson also. So what do you think about the head coach now? He's not alpha male. We know Jerry Jones runs the show, and that's why he's managed to stay there so long. Do you think that's going to hurt Dallas in the long run, Big C?
Well, Jason Garrett played under Jimmy Johnson there in Dallas, Charlton, as backup quarterback to Troy Aikman.
Yeah.
And then he went to the Giants and finished up his career as a quarterback with the Giants. And he came back, he brought him in because he needed a puppet as the head coach. And if you look at, this is the only team that the owner is constantly holding the press conference, not the head coach.
Isn't that amazing?
He more airtime than the head coach. And owners are to sit back and enjoy their property.
You mean like Robert? You mean like Robert Kraft, Big C? Like Robert Kraft? Is that what you're saying?
Like Robert Kraft and many other owners in the NFL, Charlton, where you don't even want to be seen other than the game up in your lunch.
Yeah.
But Jerry Jones is calling to me the guys I need to talk about something, and I think that is what has bothered the Dallas Cowboys over the past decade, Charlton, because no one knows who the true leader is. They know Jerry owns the team, but do you listen to the coach?
Yeah.
And players, they get a little bit tickled when it comes to that. You got this coach who's supposed to be in charge, but you got an owner who will walk in the locker room and say, "No, this is what we're going to do.
Yeah.
These guys got to play.
Yeah.
I'm going to sign this guy. We're going to play this guy. This guy's going to be benched."
Yeah.
And so it leaves a little bit of disarray in an organization. And Jerry Jones over the past decade has hurt the Cowboys more than he's helped them. And you talked about that with Jimmy Johnson being in. Jimmy Johnson drafted his players, put them in place. He made trades. Jerry Jones had no knowledge of the game. All of a sudden, Jimmy Johnson builds a solid organization.
Yeah.
Jerry Jones thought he was a genius. He fires Jimmy Johnson, brings in Barry Switzer, wins another Super Bowl, but it was with the same players.
Yeah.
That's all it was. Barry Switzer lost his job 3 years later because he could not coach.
Yeah.
Those players knew the system and ran the system. Switzer was just there as a figurehead.
Yeah, that's true.
He realized he had to coach. He lost his job.
Well,
that's been a carousel of coaches in Dallas ever since.
That's true. You definitely have to know where you stand when it comes to Jerry Jones. Another division that looks pretty strong at the top is the NFC South. The Atlanta Falcons at 4-3. Tampa Bay is 3-3. A lot better than their record, in my opinion. New Orleans is 2-4. And Carolina disappointed at 1-5. The Atlanta, they've scored 229 points, Big C, and they've given up 199. Tampa has only scored 128. They've given up 159, Big C. Your thoughts on the NFC South? I think Atlanta was started off strong again last year, Big C, and they started to fall off some, but they lost to a San Diego team that I think is a lot better than people give them credit for. Your thoughts on the NFC South, Big C?
Well, I got to go with my emulating boy Julio Jones. I just fake catfish.
Yeah.
He can't catch a football.
Yeah.
The best receiver in the NFL.
Yeah.
And, Atlanta's going to go as Julio Jones goes, not as Matt Ryan goes, but as Julio Jones.
Yeah.
Julio should be targeted no less than 15 times.
Oh, of course, yeah.
Hey, we're throwing it to Julio.
Yeah.
Come up to the line of scrimmage. We're throwing it to Julio. Can you run with him? Can you stop him?
Yeah.
But Matt Ryan gets lost in the fray at times and want to do other things. Julio Jones is the most dangerous individual right now in the NFL.
Yeah.
He's going to see the ball a minimum 15 times. He reminds me of a fast Calvin Johnson when he was with Detroit.
Yeah.
Matthew Stafford got to the point where Calvin Johnson would see the ball sometimes only 3 to 5 times a game.
Yeah.
When you have a player of that stature, he has to have 15 attempts thrown at him every game. Yes, you have a receiving core, but you can't sit there and belt him up all night long, then the other guys become open.
Yeah.
But when you look at that division, Atlanta started out 5-0 last year.
Yeah.
And, then all of a sudden they hit the skids and ended up 8-8. And they're doing the same thing right now. You have a formula, and you think about it. Julio Jones had a game where he had 300 yards receiving.
Yeah.
And they haven't won a game since then.
Yeah.
So it has to be in the quarterback formula, not in the Julio Jones and the rest of the Falcons. It has to be in the quarterback. You got a receiver that can get you 300 yards, and he's only accumulated that in the last 2 games.
Isn't that amazing?
So why not go to him all the time, Charlton?
Isn't that amazing?
The division as a whole, Tampa Bay is a young team. They haven't found their stride yet. They beat up on the 49ers last week, but they've been inconsistent. One game they win, and they look strong. Next game they look like a doormat. Charlton.
Yeah, and as far as I'm concerned, Big C, the football is not as slippery as catfish, so get Julio that football more. He has to catch something, Big C. Not that good at catfishing, but he can catch the football. Also, Big C, if we look at the NFC North, Minnesota 5-1, upset by Philly over the weekend. Green Bay is 4-2. Detroit's 4-3. Chicago is 1-6. Minnesota, they scored 129 points. Their defense has only given up 84 points, Big C. Now, Green Bay have scored 140 points. They've given up 123 points. Your thoughts on those two teams that are challenging for the top of the NFC North? Minnesota still amazes me. They're doing it without Bradford. They're doing it without their star quarterback in Bridgewater and also Peterson, Big C. But your thoughts on that division?
Well, Charlton, let me go out on a limb and say Chicago won't win the division. Okay?
You think so, Big C? You think they have a better Trump than Donald Trump?
The Bears will not win that division. Let's do it.
You sound like Donald Trump now, Big C. Go ahead, Steve.
There's been a lot of inconsistency in Green Bay. That's the problem. We talk about the run game over and over.
Yeah.
And that's the forgotten part of the NFL, having a run game. And Aaron Rodgers, his top 2 backs, Starks and Lacey, have been banged up this year.
Yeah.
So you're going to have a running game, especially in that division when you think about late in the year. It gets cold. Green Bay is that outdoor stadium. And Chicago also, Minnesota and Detroit are on the inside. But you got to go outside and play a couple of those games late in the year.
Yeah.
But you got to have a run game, Charlton, if you expect to go someplace. Sam Bradford was exposed for not having ability last week when the offensive line broke down in Minnesota.
Oh, yeah.
So, they're going to have to sort that up a little bit. They're going to have to give him a little more time, and he's going to have to get rid of the ball quicker. But Minnesota, I don't see them falling off much. They went into Philadelphia. I think the emotions got the better of Bradford in that game, going back to Philly, thinking he had something to prove as a player instead of as a team. Yeah. And it cost the Vikings a loss in that game.
Well, Big C, the last division we'll look at is the NFC West. The Seattle Seahawks, Arizona Cardinals, the Los Angeles Rams, and the San Francisco 49ers. Seattle's 4-1-1. Arizona is 3-3-1. The Rams are 3-4. The 49ers are 1-6. And you look at you look at what they've done production-wise. Seattle scored 111 points, but they've given up 84, which is very good. Arizona, they scored 159. They're giving up 110. I know they played to a 6-6 tie in overtime, Big C. What a way to go out and play a great defensive game, but because they couldn't get a kicker to kick the ball through the uprights, Big C, they had to tie that game. But your thoughts on who's going to win that division in the NFC West, Big C?
Well, Charlton, both of those teams are trying to get hot. And everybody said it was a lackluster offensive performance Monday night. But no one, will consider the defensive performance. Those guys on the other side of the ball have more pride than the guys on offense because you're trying to keep people out of the end zone, Charlton.
Yeah.
If you did not allow an offensive touchdown that entire game to either team, to me, that was tremendous strategic football when you look at it. But, when you look at that division as a whole, I like Seattle down the road once Russell Wilson gets healthy. He's been banged up here in the early part of the season, hasn't had the mobility. Normally, Russell would have had 200 to 300 yards rushing already on the season, get about 50 to 60 yards a game.
Yeah.
He hasn't had that, and that has slowed down the Seattle offense. His lack of mobility made him just like every other once that knee has had some time to get better, Seattle will kick it into overdrive, and you'll see them go on a run. And you remember last year, Charlton, he set NFL records the last half of the season. He's the highest rated quarterback in NFL history over the last 8 games of the season, last season.
Yeah, you're right, Big C. And I want to say that this segment is also sponsored by One Life America Life Insurance. We're the leaders in the country when it comes to final expense. I'm also looking to hire over 1,000 licensed insurance brokers to help protect American families. And you can also follow us on Charlton and Big C Sports, the #1 sports show in the universe, according to Big C and his good old boys. No hanging chads, Big C. And also I want to say Beneath His Wings Foundation.org and CYN Entertainment when it comes to promotions. Cynthia Evans, she's the best in Northern California. Big C, as we get into the world of the NBA, we know there's so many things that we like about NBA basketball, and so we're going to touch on that just a little bit. We have a couple of games starting tonight, but I do want to pay homage to some of the high school football teams. We just ran down all the divisions in the NFL. I'm going to give the top 10 according to USA Today. They have #1 for you high schoolers out there that follow Charlton and Big C Sports. Bishop Gorman out of Las Vegas, Nevada at 9-0. IMG Academy out of Bradenton, Florida. They are 7-0. They're actually playing Long Beach Poly of California, a California powerhouse that sent more high school players to the NFL than any team or any high school in the country, Big C. #3 is Mater Dei of Santa Ana, California. #4, Allen, Texas. #5, McGill Tulane out of Mobile, Alabama, Big C. The good old boys even got top 5 high school football programs, Big C. And #6, DeMatha of Hyattsville, Maryland. #7, DeSoto, Texas. #8, St. Thomas Aquinas of Fort Lauderdale, Florida. #9 is Mountain Point from Phoenix, Arizona. And #10 is Centennial of Corona, California, Vontaze Burfict, his alma mater. And that's the top 10 when it comes to USA Today ranking the high school football teams, Big C. But you know, the NBA is starting out tonight also. And we know a lot of people are going to be hyped on what's happening with the World Series. And we know some of the big changes, Big C, that happened in the offseason with the NBA. Is the change in Golden State, is that worthy of just crowning them as champions? Because it reminds me of when the Lakers had Karl Malone. They got in. I think that they got a couple of players trying to win a championship with Kobe and Shaq, but they brought in Karl Malone, but it still wasn't enough to get them a championship as they were knocked out by Detroit. Could we be seeing something similar to that, Big C? Because Cleveland is a better team. They have Tyronn Lue now, a full season under him. Your thoughts, is Golden State a surefire pick for #1, Big C?
Well, you know, you look at those two teams that played in the championship game last year, Charlton, and everybody's expecting them to be back. You know, Kevin Durant came to Oakland and it got much ballyhoo negative press.
Yeah.
From the world of sports. Talking about why would he go there? Because he had lost to him.
Yeah.
But, you know, he also can blend in with his organization.
Yeah.
You know, he has something to prove, and the Warriors have something to prove. And I think that's the reason why he came to the Warriors. Because they set a record for all-time victories during the regular season, but they didn't win the championship. So it was like an empty season in the end. And I think he's the missing cog in that because they have great shooters in Klay Thompson and Steph Curry.
Yeah.
Draymond Green is a tremendous role player, but you can always have that other assassin that's coming off the bench. When you think about great teams in the past that had championship caliber, they always had a 6-man who could come in on the bench and knock it down. San Antonio Spurs had Bruce Bowen.
Yeah.
The Lakers had Michael Cooper. You know, the Celtics had, I'm trying to remember who they had plenty.
Larry Bird, yeah. Dennis Johnson, Danny Ainge, yeah. Kevin McHale.
You know, championship teams do that. You know, they have players, and you think about Houston Rockets, they have Robert Horry who can come off the bench and knock down the big 3 shot.
Yeah.
But you got Kevin Durant. Great players play with great players, okay? They're okay with that. You know, it's the media saying that Durant won't have a good appreciation in Oakland. He's got to have a great appreciation because he's one of those type of guys. He's a championship caliber ball player. You know, when you think about Cleveland, just a great organization. They got the band back together from last year.
Yeah.
They're going to be that same solid team that they were. They lost a couple of role players, but the cog of that organization is there with Irving, you know, J.R. Smith.
Yeah.
James, you know, Thompson. These players are back, which was a key player, Scheffler. These are the key players in that organization. Got Love, he's still there. So these are 2 teams that everybody's expecting to be in the finals, but the addition of Kevin Durant in Golden State, where you can get an additional 20 points a game from a player from an already awesome arsenal of shooters that you had.
Yeah.
Who do you cover? Who do you double team, Joe?
Yeah, that's true, Big C. And tonight we know Cleveland's going to get their rings from their championship season last year. And, you know, we laughed about how they went to Las Vegas after the championship game was over in Oakland. I didn't know they had to take direct flights. I thought they could take direct flights from San Francisco or Oakland to Cleveland, but I was just informed they had to go to Las Vegas for some reason, Big C. And I don't know if they'll make that same trip to Las Vegas this year, because you do have too much to overcome when you're looking at Golden State. You know, one thing we're going to really miss this year in the NBA, Big C, we don't have the big consistent guy in Duncan down in San Antonio. But I tell you, with Popovich, you always have consistency. Ginobili's older, Parker's older. They have Kawhi Leonard who could be a star for that team, but I don't see them challenging Golden State. I'm looking at I know they got blown out in the preseason game, but Doc Rivers has the Clippers playing well. If Chris Paul doesn't break his hand last year against Portland, maybe they make a run at Golden State also, Big C. Your thoughts on who out of the West can challenge Golden West, Big C?
You know, I think the Clippers have been a teaser organization for a long time, Charlton, when you think about it. They've led everybody to think that they're better than they are. You know, whether it's injuries or whatever, they just have not gotten there. They've been that team that is disappointed.
Yeah.
San Antonio, you always talk about Popovich and having the veterans. They go out and play basketball. They're not worried about impressing people. They're just worried about going out playing consistent ball. They have LaMarcus Aldridge, who they brought in last year from Portland, took over basically at center for Duncan.
Yeah.
So now that he's had a year in the organization, he's back very well entrenched in that system now. But, you know, the guys that they have, the great role players, you know, Popovich fires 1 or 2 players every year. Like, where did he come from?
Yeah, that's true.
But he's such a great coach in understanding how to put players and talent together. I don't see them beating Golden State in the division, but I see them being dangerous to Golden State once the playoffs start, Chuck.
Well, last NBA thought, Big C, you know, with Derrick Rose just getting out of the trial situation in Los Angeles for, you know, heinous crime, and obviously he's acquitted, so, you know, you got to trust what the law says, Big C. But does that have any kind of residue going forward with the Knicks this year in the #1 media market in the world? Will they be all over Rose for that? I will be basketball as usual. And again, no excuse for domestic violence. I don't know what happened in that situation. I just hate that any woman is in that environment to have someone take advantage of her. I'm not saying that he did or he didn't, Big C, but I'm just saying, is that something that will have a residue holdover effect to his play for the Knicks this year, Big C? Your thoughts?
Well, you got to look at this is the same city where Josh Brown played football up until today, Charles.
Yeah.
Where, you know, and New York also is a city where Donald Trump hangs out with his heinous comments.
Elliot Spencer, too,
So,
yeah.
You know, this has been an interesting city when it comes to that. But I think because the Knicks are what the Knicks are, is that, you know, he will be absorbed into the organization and you won't get much backlash from it. Because it wasn't an incident that went on in New York, Charlton. It was an incident on the left coast. And so I think it's forgotten because it was a civil suit. It wasn't a criminal suit.
Yeah.
That's the difference. You know, and not that any suit goes frivolous, but I think the public has a different outlook when someone comes to ask for $21 million instead of going to the police. Let me take you to court for $21 million. And I don't know if there was a police investigation or if it's one ongoing, but from the public's perspective, Charles, it always looks a little shady at that time. The Knicks, you know, there's a lot of high expectations bringing Rose in. You have that draft pick from last year, the 7-footer from Russia, who has done a marvelous job. And, you know, Carmelo Anthony is always one of the greatest shooters in the NBA. So the Knicks have a chance to challenge Boston in that Eastern Division.
Yeah.
Boston has been the king of that division the past 2 years, but I see the Knicks challenging them and, you know, possibly playing Cleveland in the playoffs this year.
Yeah, and you look at Minnesota, they're an improved team with the Timberwolves. Should be great season of NBA basketball tonight and starting out. And there's so much to happen in the world of NFL football and college football and all these great games that are going to be coming up. We'll talk about them more as we do on Big C, Charlton and Big C Sports. We have the Big C World Series starting up tonight in Chicago with the Cleveland Indians and the Chicago Cubs. I should call it the Big C Indians and the Big C Cubs, Big C. That's what we should call it, Big C. But I also want to say there's no excuse for domestic violence, no matter who you are or where you are. Women, just call 911. And as I always want to say to everyone, we love what sports does for everyone throughout the world. We love the fact that Charlton and Big C Sports, we are cutting edge sports because we call it real talk. We also are intelligent. We talk about a little bit of politics, talk about race, we talk about everything because it's real talk, Big C. I appreciate you for so much that you offered to the program. I learn a lot every time I get another sip of moonshine, Big C. But I learned don't drink more. What Billy D. Williams say? Don't let the smooth taste fool you. Now I understand what Billy D. was talking about, Big C. And every Monday through Friday at 5 o'clock p.m. Pacific Standard Time worldwide, you can follow Charlton and Big C Sports, the #1 sports show in the universe, according to Big C and his good old boys down south, on the iHeart Radio Network. And as we always say to you, we thank you, we appreciate you, and we hope that you have a super fantastic day.